ourselves settled in. Get ourselves settled into our tonight. Get ourselves settled in for the night. Oh. Tonight, wait. I've been doing that all day. Welcome to another Friday Night Lectures. Tonight we are getting into the aspects of breaking down the cognitive, through cognitive psychology, understanding the mind control, going into that space of that nature. The main thing that I had to go through in my growth, one of the top things that I had to go through in my growth, as I'm typing words. Oh, that's the wrong part. We're going to get into cognitive bias. Cognitive bias is taking in information, and based on those flaws within our shadows, the things that we haven't worked on with ourselves, we now create the thought process, or we create this thought process or this function in that process of thought to stay where we're at in our aspects when we're going through our growth. Those are the flaws within our psyche that we really got to start looking into when we get deeper into our shadow works. There's over 150 types of, there's over 150 types of cognitive bias. We're going to focus on the top 6 that I've cultivated, the top 6, because these are the top 6 naturally trickle down into the other ones of the aspect of the process. Affinity, beauty, contrast, gender, halo, and horns. When you think about halo and horns, think about the devil on one shoulder, angel on another shoulder, or the shadow aspects or the things that are within the light. Affinity is the aspects of something that simply, when we think about family, we think about friends, we think about the job, we think about these aspects, and I fucks with these people, I fucks with this over here because they're on the same wavelength that I'm on. It's where, so when a thought gets challenged, we fundamentally lock ourselves into a pattern of, well, I'll give you this thought process. When you start doing your work, when you start actually digging into yourself and getting into your work, your healing process is going to make you seem like you're insane. Your healing process is going to be equivalent to insanity. It's going to be equivalent to insanity because you're healing. The traumas, the events that you have built based on these traumas. Remember, we talked about sequencing last week. These sequences that you are now becoming more self-aware of, your emotional maturity, understand, seeing where you're emotionally stunted at, all these aspects in the level of your intimacy, the things that you're settling for based on your old self. With this conjunction coming in with this conjunction coming, Jupiter and Saturn, you got to think about Jupiter basically being, Jupiter is the knowledge, the knowing, the father of the aspect. While Saturn is the aspects of bringing all this shit to the surface, the rings, bringing all of your calamities and all your chaos into these rings for you to actually see yourself. So when we go into these aspects of cognitive bias, creating your thought process, creating how you move, how you act, everything that you're doing when you're going through a healing process or you're just in that state, look at where you're at and becoming more self-aware with that environment. Cognitive bias is under aspects of judgment. You make your moves based on others' views or others' opinions, putting yourself into these thought processes of, well, not everybody's doing this or not everybody's doing that. So why should I be doing that? I'm fine where I'm at. I've been getting this for so long. Why do I need to change? Why do I need to change? Why do I need to do anything different? Cognitive bias. Because you created from that shadow self. You created this space from the shadows of yourself, the shadows of your being, this shadow self of you. So you created everything based on the experiences from the negative. Those are the things that are in the repressed. These are the things that are within that process of you now becoming self-aware. That shit is not you. These are old aspects of you. If it has an answer, but it's not providing you growth, you're not no longer looking for the answer, you're looking for the question. One of the biggest things that I give my clients is you have to be comfortable in asking why and why not. And you're not looking for an answer that serves the purpose of you staying inside of a certain space. You're looking for the you're looking for the because now you're actually using your heart. It's actually coming from your heart. It's not coming from the mind. We get stuck in this aspect of being stuck in our thoughts, being stuck in the way that we think, the way that we've been doing things, basically playing lottery with your life. Sometimes literally in a physical sense, and sometimes you're playing lottery with your life. You're not understanding. So now the reason that you're in the space, like I'll use an example. Everybody's looking at COVID-19 right now. COVID-19, money ain't the same way. Money is not flowing the same way that it's flowing. Businesses are not flourishing the way that they're flourishing. People aren't spending the money. It don't seem like the holidays. Why? Welcome. What did you base your holidays off of? What did you base? Because most of this time we put ourselves into a basis of our influences based on the external status quo. This is within beauty. This is within infinity. This is within the horns and the halo aspect. The contrast aspect is one of the biggest ones. We'll look at something in a separate light. We'll look at something in separate, or we'll try to put it into two different subjects, two different spaces, instead of looking at it as a whole. Because our minds, we're not able to process we're not giving ourselves the time to actually process because we're so used to getting something instantaneous. One of the main things I think about being an instantaneous is when I was working for restaurants, I remember the work that I put in, I was sweating. I was doing hard ass fucking work. But in the reality of it, when I would come to my house and I'd be cooking at my house, I wouldn't be sweating. I was more proud towards what I was doing at the house than what I was doing inside restaurants. It was different. I didn't understand the difference. Since I didn't understand the difference, the lines started getting blurred. When you don't understand the differences in certain aspects, the lines will start becoming blurred in your space of how you're starting to see things because you're trying to rationalize everything. So if I wake up at if I wake up at 7 o'clock if I wake up at 7 o'clock, what am I doing when I first wake up? What am I doing when I first wake up? What are you like? Think about these. Like, what are you doing when you first wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning? I wake up at 4. Like anybody that's been rocking with me, watching lectures, watching my videos, I wake up. I'm up at 4 o'clock. Even if I'm not out of the bed, my first thing every single time when I wake up, 4 o'clock, I'm giving myself a self-check. I don't care if I did the self-check before I went to bed. I'm doing a self-check right there at that space and time. Around 5 o'clock, I'm rolling out of bed, before my feet hit the floor, taking a bottle of water to myself, and I'm sitting there in my meditative stance. I got the binaural beats playing in my room. So I'm sitting in that space. It's totally dark in there. And I'm sitting there with my eyes. I have not opened my eyes yet. And I'm sitting there looking back at everything whether I went into the astral realm, I was playing up there, whatever dream I had, I'm looking for all these differences. I'm looking for the differences. I'm looking for the contradictions in my dreams. I'm happy and accepting this because this is a part of me creating my day. I'm literally creating my day. I'm bypassing, this is one aspect of you learning in your healing process. I'm bypassing the things that have become my old normals. I'm bypassing the old routines. I'm bypassing my old routines by way of looking, so I can now look at what influenced my old routines. What routine and what is influencing my routine? Down to my fast, 4 days left. Down to my fast. The reason that I'm doing my fast, there is no agenda to me doing my fast. It's not for me to lose weight, even though between October till now, I went from 250 back down to 190. But that's not my primary objective. My primary objective is to see how I can now, using my method, breaking these biases in my own mind, because even in that aspect of you healing, once you're doing your shadow work, the next aspect is, okay, now that I've done my shadow work, now that I got this information, now that I got the knowledge, now that I'm applying it, the key is, what are you applying it to? And that's based on what you need. That's based on the shit that's coming up in your life. The things that I apply my sciences to, what I work on for myself personally, that's from me, that's from my personal. The things that I do for my client, the things that I do for my clients, the things that I do when I'm doing videos, whenever I'm building my practice and my brand, what I do, that's another aspect outside of me that I now can observe, because I'm always the observer. I take that point as the observer. Even the way I talk to myself as an observer. These conversations that you're having with yourself, they're going to be these arguments that you're having with yourself, but it's coming from a different space or mindset. You have to change your mindset. That means my mindset, I can no longer think as any of these broken aspects of myself. I no longer can move through these biases of, I went through a trauma, my mom stole from me, my mom lied about my pops, and all of these aspects. I can't use those because those aren't higher levels of thought. What I'm challenging is how to get to the higher levels of myself. That is your work. When you think about all of the work that you have to do, all of the work that is coming, all of that, unlocking your imagination, taking yourself to the next level, you really stop thinking about the mundane. Or when we look at the Kabbalah, look at the Kabbalah and go into Buddhist texts and think about the 6 realms, the 6 realms of these 6 realms down in here. These mundane aspects are the same things that are in a synonymous lineup with the aspects of our cognitive bias. That's why I chose these top 6. Affinity, beauty, contrast. Affinity, beauty, contrast, the halo effect, and the horns, the halo and the horn effect, looking at everything negative into that space, and a gender. That means I'm looking at this over here based upon, well, and this is one of the biggest biases, because you'll look at, take this thought, use this thought. If I say in my mind that bitches ain't shit, women ain't shit, all they want is my money, they want to emasculate me, use all of these contexts into my bias information that I use for myself. So I use that as my thought process. Now, even if what comes into my life is the best of the best, like something that's meant to challenge me on all levels, in a mentality to help me mentally mature, help me emotionally mature, help me mature into my divine sense, I somehow in my life, to keep my bias, because I'm unconscious about this bias that I'm using, that's programmed in my subconscious, indirectly or directly in my life, at some point in time in the scape of my environment, I must have something that ain't shit to compare or to contrast against this. That's judgment. So now I can still say niggas ain't shit. I can still say bitches ain't shit, because I have examples of that in my environment. So now I can live vicariously through them in that aspect of that thought process of niggas ain't being shit and bitches ain't being shit. The white man is the devil. All these aspects of these fear archetypes. I can use these fear archetypes to keep my energy flowing, keep me doing what I'm doing. So now I have a reason to fall back on. I have something I'm gonna fall back on. Like, yo, I'm gonna fall back on that because, because that's what's in your subconscious programming. We've talked about subconscious programming before, but that understanding the control of your mind it's not going to be coming in a full context, similar to like when we were little. And think about these younger aspects, like when they were like, the devil has red horns, the devil has a tail and red horns, and then you played it off because you were like, the devil ain't gonna come. I'm never gonna see that. That ain't real. Or somebody saying they don't believe in the devil, but they believe in God. These are types of aspects that keep that imbalance based on this bias, that you keep yourself biased in this aspect with your morality, challenging. You don't challenge the traditions. Why you cling onto a tradition? Why you listening to certain shit? Why you sitting there inside of a certain space? Like, for example, for me, I got the candles lit up right now. I got candles coming in next week for when I start my winter solstice ritual. This would be the second time that I actually do this ritual. The first time I'm doing it in a outside of my head sense. The first time I'm doing it outside of my head, to where everybody's sitting here stressing about getting something for Christmas and doing all of these things and staying inside of that space just to stay in a certain space to feel good. I'm not about feeling good. I'm about getting better. Feeling good is different than getting better. You can feel good all day. I can sit here all day and be like, I can sit here all day and watch TV and be ignorant to my where I'm at, but then it's going to only breed arrogance. Ignorance breeds arrogance, because now you're ignorant to what you're ignorant. So now you're carrying a bias. So now you're only on one side instead of learning the entire space. Now you're looking at friends, family. They think that you're insane, but now you're looking at them and say, yeah, man, whether they triggering, you're supposed to be doing this shit. Like, this is your training ground, your science experiment. You're supposed to be looking at this shit like, you know what? I never thought about it that way. Why? Why not? Building your hypothesis, building your theory for your works, what you're doing for yourself. One of the biggest things is the aspects of one of the things that I'm gonna start with affinity. The process of staying in a certain space based on family, friends, the job, the money, external aspects. These are external definitions. That's always been this has always been the biggest things for me, was going through the aspects of I was going around certain individuals or certain places to get a certain result or a certain reaction. I would be in certain spaces to feed from certain levels of energy, so I could sustain myself staying in the personality that I was in. What that led me to was I remember for about 3 to 4 years of my life, I remember like 4 or 5 years of my life, like every relationship was damn near the same. Every relationship was damn near the same. Like they were either in college, they were in school for something, they were in school for something, in school for something, challenging their degree or whatever it may be. They were in a certain complex. I wasn't seeing the pattern. Why every chick that I get with was in school or wanting to go to school or was getting out of school or whatever. They were in school or something about their intellectual aspect. But then I was looking at myself, it was like, oh, damn. Because so I could use I'm a psychologist. I could use my degree. I wasn't using myself to my full potential, basically. I was only using things to a certain point. So I could say it. It sounded like a good conversation. It sounded like something good to fucking say at the point in time. But when it came time for it to be challenged, nothing in my environment matched the challenge. So I'm sitting in a space, big fish, small pond, and this is something that you got to admit to yourself. You got to admit these shits to yourself. I was big fish in a small pond, and I'm sitting in a space where it's like everybody around me was at one level of life in themselves, and I was at a different level. And I knew I was at a different level. The only thing worse than not knowing that you're at a different level is knowing that you're at a different level, but you're not doing anything to challenge that. Ashe. But you're doing something not to challenge that. This becomes the aspect of your family. This becomes the aspect of your friends. This becomes the aspect of your job. I remember sitting at my job in a certain space in my job at a certain point in time, and I'm sitting there at my job like, yo, I'm in here running it. I can run the whole line. I know all of this different shit, but it wasn't until I realized that I was like, yo, I'm sitting in this space and everybody's sitting here and they rocking with me and they need me. This false sense of need, because I was creating based from lacking. I lacked the challenge. They lacked the skills to perform how I perform. I was writing off my identity or my ego. So now I can sit in that space and be like, yeah, I'm doing this, this, and this, and I'm doing this, this, and this. And I felt this inherent need to always say I was doing something. Every time somebody was having a conversation, I had this inherent need to always say I was doing something. I always had this inherent need to try to sustain my status. A lot of us going through this influence system or based on the impulse versus indulging. A God indulges because they have no need or want. Humanity's actual perspective is to be impulsive. So like right now, I've already planned out January, February, March, the next coming into 2021, the things that I'm going to be doing is not based off impulse. It's like I'm using what is in that space. Why is what you're saying the opposite of my reasoning? Because we're going out. The key of aspect that's what it's supposed to do. You're going out of logic and reasoning, so you can now look at it, because our aspect of our reasoning that we have been programmed into, our mindsets have been programmed. We have been indoctrinated into this reasoning based on that cognitive bias. So anything that's challenging me, I want to know why. This is when you ask the question to yourself, why is this challenging me? Yeah. Yes, exactly. So it's like you're looking at it like this was projected on me, but the way to shift, you're shifting because that was needed for that to understand the contrast of your balance. Exactly. You're going to put yourself into this space, but in order to learn it, this is how you learn the control. This is how you learn the aspect of the control. Because now the fact, like I'll use the factor, a simple factor that we never really even thought about. When I remember when I was watching 40-Year-Old Virgin, and I remember The Boss on 40-Year-Old Virgin. And I remember every time that I saw a spiritualist, yeah, every time I saw a spiritualist, even to this point now, yeah, this you're learning that's a key aspect of not being judgmental of it. Every time I saw a spiritualist, I saw them wearing fucking kimonos and robes and all of these different effects. And I was like, in my mind, since I was still in this space of this bias, I was like, I don't see myself wearing this. I don't see myself doing that. I don't see myself doing this. And now that I'm in full swing of what I do, it's like, it's about defining myself. Yes, you're never compromising your soul. Never compromise your soul. If that is to the aspect of you, you're not. It's about not compromising your soul. What your knowing is, what is keeping you in that aspect of the innocence to yourself. But as we're going through this process, that cognitive bias, when people hit with this cognitive bias, is like the false sense of. It's like somebody sitting here saying, for example, I have no issues. I've never had an issue with a shorty wearing, whether she's wearing braids, allow it. That's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to hurt them. Braids, false hair, whatever it may be. As long as you are embracing you and you understand you. On the other aspect of that, you have like, yo, man, I only can fuck with queens that wear natural hair and know themselves. They have this predisposition list of things in an aspect. So now you got to fit everything within that aspect. Here's the key to this. If I'm only using this rationale aspect, this is how I've rationalized my thinking, that somebody that's not wearing this or doing this or being in this certain space, oh shit, they're not doing this. They're not saying this. That means they're not this. They're not spiritual. They're not conscious. They're not woke. They don't have any information that I can use. Now I'm fundamentally going to be stunning myself, because even if they say some shit, they can say some shit that I don't have to agree. I don't have to partake in everything that they partake in, but the spirit is going to be able to use them to bring some information to me. But if my mind is so stuck in being, I only listen to this over here, I'm only going to wait for shit over here to come to this. This is my comfort zone. I'm now creating another cipher or another comfort zone for myself. I don't want to be comfortable. I am chaos. I am a titan. I am a being of chaos. Control chaos. Chaos to what happens is, the illusion seems chaotic to individuals that have not learned their disciplines for themselves. I'm very fucking disciplined. Yes, exactly. So using the aspects for me is like, I'm very disciplined in everything that I do, and I build within my disciplines. My disciplines are within my purpose. My purpose is within my potential. So I build within this space. Everything that comes into this space is teaching me something. I'm open. This is how you become open, But then you learn how to, since you are of everything, everything is simply a byproduct of your thoughts anyway. Everything is automatically, naturally a byproduct of your thoughts. Period. That's what's, so when you have somebody come into your life, like just use certain aspects. I'm tired of narcissists coming in my life and motherfuckers using me and motherfuckers not understanding me and da 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 da. And every time I tell them my story, what story are you telling them? What story are you telling them? Are you telling them the broken you? The reason it becomes so comfortable for you to tell everybody that you're broken is because that's the space that you're existing from. That's the space that you're existing from. All of these aspects are aspects of you. So if it's coming to you, it's based on it's not just based on, but nah, man, because I meditate every day and I drink water and I do this and I do this and I do this. Think about how many eyes you said within that space. Why are you doing this? I'm not doing nothing that I do is based on an agenda of, if I do all of this, then I'm gonna get more likes, or I'm gonna get more follows, or I'm gonna get more clients. I'm not doing it based on that. I did four consultations last night, and the conversations that I'm having with these individuals, some like two of the people that I actually had a conversation with, they literally were like, "Yo, our conversation is different." They take all the information and they kind of be like, "Your conversation with me is different. I don't feel I was less lost, but I had more ahas." I was like, because you were listening with your heart was taking in that information. My mindset, I'm not speaking to the thought process. I'm speaking to the heart. I'm speaking to your knowing. I'm only going to bring things to the surface. What I do as my gift is to bring that to the surface and speak to that aspect of your soul to help you go through this process of your integration. That's all. I'm not going to sit here. I've never sat here. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm not going to sit here in a position and be like, well, if you don't do this and you don't do this and you don't do this, then this ain't going to happen. I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give it to you simple in the aspects and break it down as much as it needs to be broken down. Exactly. Me being in the space that I'm in, I cannot be in this space if I did not reach or achieve a certain level of healing, because I would still approach things based on a bias or a judgmental standard. That means I would be that means I would listen to a client and they'll be like, for example, one of my clients, I listened to them first time with them, 45 minutes. It was a whole bashing session about everybody was against them and all of these aspects. I allowed them to speak. They needed to vent. After about the 50-minute mark, they started crying. They wanted to start dating, and they immediately started apologizing for crying. I was like, why are you apologizing for crying? I'm sorry, it's just so much I'm getting so much off of my chest in this space, and it's just flowing out of me. I was like, okay, allow it to keep flowing. What did you notice? That I've never been able to say and just let it out at that point in time. I'm used to being in positions where I'm venting, I'm letting it release, but then I feel this sense of emptiness. But then the reply would usually be it would be even more chaotic in the reply. I was like, I'm gonna break down what just happened for you. When we release based on an emotional impulse, when we release based on this impulse of ourselves, we release in a chaotic fashion, crying, tearing up, crying, tearing up, letting that shit loose, letting it out. You feel me? On this impulse. So let's say you having an argument with your man, you having an argument with your chick, and y'all argue. Y'all have a whole motherfucking argument. Okay, cool. When your emotions are in balance, you just let out undisciplined chaos. It was undisciplined chaos. So now that needs to be now that you need to be refilled, since you just emptied to become refilled, what are you doing to be refilled? Now you sit there and then y'all have you sat there and y'all fucking having nasty fucking sex, and y'all was having passionate, rough fucking sex, and then y'all laying there. Guess what you just did? You just refilled with undisciplined, you just refilled with the same shit you just released. So really you release or vent in an undisciplined manner, exactly, not honoring yourself, and then you take back in you take back on energy in that same equivalent in that same space. Now, what did you just create? Another space for that to happen. So now imagine doing this in every relationship that you've ever been in. So now that becomes an aspect of what you look for in all of your relationships. But it's just not the physical relationship of you laying up with somebody, your friendships. Where did that relationship come from? Where did you learn this? Where is this subseeded from? What did you see? What was your relationship between your mother and your father? Or your mother and her boyfriends, your father and his girlfriends? What was the relationships that you first seen? Because those are the aspects that gave you the thought process of the halo. That gave you the halo effect. Now you're sitting in a position with yourself, and now you're only looking at the good aspects or the things that are on the surface. And the more that you put your energy out into the more that you're looking for the external validations or getting things through an external aspect, the physical aspect, the weaker that you're becoming. So now you're sitting in that position, and now you're like, yo, I did this for so fucking long. I don't know anything else. Yes, anger is very important, but it's how you're navigating and using this based on being actual building into your discipline of yourself, disciplining your emotion and disciplining your inner child. Your inner child naturally, your inner child wants attention. It wants love. It wants guidance. It wants protection. It wants stability. It wants these things. If you had a lack of these things in your younger aspects of yourself, then of course you're going to settle for the external aspects of, think about this. The one thing that will cause an entire conversation to be had is when someone says, I want somebody that can handle me. I want somebody that can handle me. I want someone to handle my realness. I want someone to ride or die for my realness, ride or die from and handle me. I'm not an animal. I'm not an animal. I'm the fuck. I don't want to be handled, because that means to be handled. When I think about being handled, I think about being trained. And then you look at some of these relationships, yo, she always trying to change me and train me, man. And then you think about these subconscious things like, yeah, I ain't got him trained right, or I ain't got her trained. I got her trained. Man, you got your girl trained good as fuck. But like, what? Nah. Like, I don't want you, no. Handling me? I'm not a fucking bag of groceries walking up the stairs. I'm not a bottle of fucking water. The biggest thing when it comes into the aspects of you growing into yourself and you understanding and breaking these habits is asking that why and why not. Asking the full question. Don't ask the question and then the answer that you get is, When someone asks why, your answer is, I'm just asking. Give them the reason why. Because your logic, if you can't simplify it, you have to look at it like this. If you can't simplify it, and bring it down to speaking it, your truth through it without using filters to make it seem like, because when you do this, think about it like this. If I ask a question, when I ask a question to a client, it's pretty straightforward. I've always asked questions that are pretty much straightforward, but I'll always get the reply. I remember getting replies of, why did you ask this question? Or this might have been the reason, when I literally said, this is the reason that I'm asking this question. This is the reason that I asked this question. No, I didn't. I'm not asking, but then you have to look at the individual. This is when you start using your aspects of discernment. This is when you start using your aspects of becoming aware that other individuals, based on that preconditioning, they got used to being asked in a certain routine of questions. They're not used to being asked questions. They got used to a certain routine in their life. No one ever went that depth. No one comes into that aspect of depth. So to the undisciplined mind, so people with an undisciplined mindset, they have not learned how to discipline their thoughts, discipline their emotions. They don't understand their emotional maturity levels, where they're emotionally stunted at, all of these aspects in their self. They have not done this work for themselves. You're going to seem like what is actually the challenge to help them grow. You're going to seem as a threat to their environment. This is when we think about cognitive dissonance. You're a threat to their environment. You're a threat to their scene. You're a threat to their scene. You're a threat to what they're doing. You're a threat to what they're used to receiving. They can't use their original tactics that they use. And that's what you're supposed to be doing. This is accepting the process. This is allowing the relationships to do what the fuck they're supposed to be doing. We have to stop trying to do this manipulation process based on guilt. And one of the biggest manipulations based on that guilt process is, my family was a slave, we were slaves, and this, and this. You weren't a slave. The only reason that you can still say it is because subconsciously somewhere you're still locked into that mentality. That's the only reason that it still resonates with you. That's the reason that it would, if someone right now were to walk in front of your complex, yes, walk in front of your complex and have some niggas in chains, you feel some type of way. Why? Don't use because, see, they still trying to make us slaves, and stop using blanketed answers. Why does it affect you? Why is it about you? Why to you? Not why to, not to stay in this affinity base of thought process to stay biased, but why does it affect you? I've had great business-minded relationships with the devil and the white man. My top three mentors were Nick Leach, one of the coolest Italians that I will ever meet on the planet. They were actually all three Italian. My GM Steve was another great mentor to me. And what was another great mentor to me? In that space when I was going through my shit. These were some of my great mentors. They gave me a whole different way of thought process of thinking that helped me move and shift to another level. Without them being embedded within my path, I would never even I wouldn't be where I'm at. This is when you start thinking about these things. That fundamental mindset, that original point of set of mind, that original point in setting your mind will leave you locked into a thought process of I can't go over there, I can't trust them. It's not about the aspects of trusting them. Because if you say you don't trust them, there's something about you don't trust. Because they are a construct of your own mind. They're a construct of your own mind anyway. So everything that you're naturally thinking about them is coming from the perception or the projection from your own mind. So you'll just keep projecting, you'll keep putting this glamour onto them to make them fit this until they fit this parameter. And then you'll boil it all the way down to, if I was sitting here and your man's, there's going to come a point in time when your man's going to come at me and I'm not going to agree. And that's going to be the test for our relationship. So you're basing your entire relationship on when this comes up, because it's going to come up, because you just stated it's going to come up. You spoke it in there. So you're going to wait for that to happen. So that's what you're basing your entire relationship on a bias. So you're never going to be able to fully accept information from something based on a bias. The old set point of yourself, because you're still stuck. Because where you're still stuck at, you don't realize the reason that you're so easily to be stuck there in equivalence is because they're still using that same energy. When you think about this, look at your aspects of your friendships. Looking at the aspects of your friendships, what are your friendships based on? What are your friendships based on? What are your ties to these places? What is it based on? Was it based on sustaining that perception of yourself? Or was it put into the aspects of, was it based on you becoming the best you? Or was it based on you staying where you're at? Losing and winning. A lot of us come into this mindset, yes, exactly, familiarity. Take the aspect of we're in this winning-lose competition mindset, naturally. That's what you get stuck in. So I look at it like, I don't look at win and loss. I look at being and becoming. My wins are my becoming. My losses, or what I'm learning from, are where I'm being. My observing, my observations, and my newly observed. These two spaces. That's what I look at. So anything that is coming into the state of being where I'm at in that moment, I look at it now differently based on what I speak to myself as, how I speak to myself, the conversations that I have with myself. So the conversations that I have with myself now are all the way different. Even from just going through the integration process, me from January 18th, 2020, to me now in December 18th, 2020, are different. The me from this January 18th, 2020 to the me now are different. Different mindsets, totally different mindsets. I'm more in tune and more aligned. I'm more unified in this space than I was in that space. As I'm coming through this aspect of me going through my integration, me bringing my soul together, me bringing myself together. Now when I'm looking at individuals, when I'm doing healing processes, going with my clients, just having conversations with people, I'm seeing them doing the thing. I'm seeing how I'm not seeing it as I'm far ahead of them, as in like, damn, nigga, y'all need to catch up. I'm looking at it like, that's why I went through the process. That's why I went through my process. So now that I'm where I'm at right now, I'm more aligned with my purpose. I'm more aligned with where I'm supposed to be at. So now I'm sitting in my space like, damn, nigga, I'm different. I'm not the same person. Someone can't ask me, if someone asks me a question about, so why don't you do this anymore? Why don't you do this anymore? Why don't you do this anymore? My simplest answer is, that's not me anymore. Anything after that, ask me another question. Why don't you do this anymore? Because that's not me. Why is that not you? I mean, it was this last week. Yes. I'm using more. I can actually move with a sense of, I'm not looking at it like, oh shit, no. I can actually look at it like, damn, I'm no longer, that's why I'm not this, that's why I'm not doing this, this, and this. It's based on your discernment. Learning how to use discernment, learning how to navigate based on the aspects of your discernment. As you're cutting out these aspects of you're cutting out these old aspects of your life, you're cutting out these old aspects that no longer serve a purpose for you. Now you're looking back at those spaces like, why did I do that? But I'm not looking at it based on, damn, I did that, I shouldn't have. That's going to be this is a major key in you coming into the conjunction of understanding you building that path into your higher self. Is I'm not looking at it based on regret. I regret nothing that I've done. I regret nothing that I've said. This is all the aspects when you think about the laws of Mayat, and you're like, I've never stolen. I've never stolen. I've never cheated. I've never done it. I can go down this whole list because those aspects ain't me. I've never done any of these things. If you want to go back and be like, yo, when a person brings these things to that forefront, yo, you remember when you used to do this and you used to do that and all this right here? This used to be you. This used to be you. And you like, yeah, but it's not me anymore. What's the definition of me now? Look at the definition of you now. Look at where you at now. If you call someone delusional, it probably we're both delusional, but what aspect of it? Coming into this space for myself, always evolving. Coming into this space for myself, I'm looking at my influences are different because my influences match my disciplines. I'm looking more as I'm sequencing. Remember last week we talked about the aspects of sequencing. As I'm sequencing my new body, bringing myself into my new space, I just don't do certain things anymore. My mind just, it doesn't, my mind requires more. That's your genius. My mind requires more. My views are now on a more unbiased spectrum. I can see things I'm seeing things in that different space. I'm not looking at things based upon the hurts. I've identified if it triggers a hurt, it triggers a trauma, it triggers an event, I'm able to be more self-aware. So now I can move with my discernment. I can be like, you know what? That doesn't fit my original, that doesn't fit where I'm at now. That isn't my stance. The way I used to stand, my stance used to be. And this is when you're making these markers in your evolution for yourself. You're going through your book. You're going through this new book of yourself. Delusional of having low self-esteem or overly estimating yourself. Yes, that is one of the biggest things. That's actually within the anchoring effect. That's the anchoring effect of your bias. It's actually an aspect. When I look at my space now, I've never been more centered. And everything outside of me reflects me being centered in my center to myself. The things that used to get me upset, the things that used to get me really emotional and get me upset and make me like this, feel all types of shit. And I was moving I would always move in a undisciplined manner of thought with myself. I started noticing that I was attracting these individuals into my life as reflections for me to be like, damn, is that what I'm like? Is that what I do? Is that what I say? Is this simply their perception, or is that actually what I am? The questions became different. I was asking these questions based on, I'm good. I'm not looking for anything. This is basically in the aspects of us going to the aspect of you no longer in that needing want. Take the thought process of this. Your mindset, you created this entire negative realm, this aspect of the negative within your shadow self. You created this entire negative aspect of yourself within your shadow. You've accepted the things based upon everything that you got based on the byproduct of your shadow. The shadow is these aspects of yourself that you repressed, and now you have this brand new, spanking new body, used body off the lot. Everything that you've accepted based on what you kept in the shadows at this point in time has come to the light. What you brought into that light. So if my mindset is based on my low self-esteem, based on low self-esteem, based on my confidence level, based on all of these aspects, I'll naturally grab along to the like mindset. Challenging these aspects for yourself is going to be your major fucking key. I remember a relationship probably 10 years ago. I remember a relationship that was like about 10 years ago, about 10, 11, 12, about 12 years ago. I'm in that space and we met, and basically I became an escape. But I was escaped. The reason that I was in this space and the reason that we connected so well was we both were escaping from something. She was escaping from going back home to finish school. I was escaping from the aspect of myself that I wasn't dealing with, the energy wise. So when we came together, it was built off of escape. So everything that we did in this relationship was based off escaping something. So yeah, there was trips, went on vacations, went on trips and shit, but it was always this constant need to be going somewhere. Never a real chance of sitting down. It was always this aspect of going somewhere. But when the reset hit and we couldn't be going all these places, jobs changed and all this shit, when the reality started setting in, when I started my healing process, unconsciously was starting a healing process, they were still in escape mode. So, of course, the relationship, because of that energy was no longer being cycled and reciprocated, the relationship ended. It took me 4 good years to understand that relationship and what it served in the purpose of what it was. It took 4 years before I even understood, like, damn, really sitting with myself. Not saying that it's going to take you 4 years after we're in a relationship, but it's going to take you it's going to take you a true amount of time. As I'm playing with these buttons. It's going to take you a true amount of time based on your work with yourself, what you need to do for yourself, what you need to learn about yourself. It's not going to be based off of the external monologue of, yo, man, like, she just wasn't good for you or whatever it may be. Because at a point in time, this is when you start the healing. This is the true healing process. Because now you're looking at the relationship, like, the first thing you're going to think is it me? And this is just any relationship, your relationship with your job. You ain't making the money that you thought you was making before. Is it me? You're going to start thinking about these things because it's always going to go back to a narrative of the inner child or aspects that you haven't healed. Is it me? Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not this. Maybe I'm not that. Maybe I'm not this. Ask yourself the true question. Where did you first feel that you weren't good enough? Uncover it. Where did you first not feel good enough? Where did you first not feel acceptance? Ask yourself these questions. And that's the key. That's the key. It's going to be multiple aspects to get to these key points. But it's about you finding the one that resonates with you at that point in time in your work. This is an ongoing process. When people think about shadow work, when people think about their shadow work, when people think about their shadow work, when people think about their doing this internal work, we think about it based on the subject of, I'm gonna do enough of this work, and then once I get to a certain point, I can stop. No. Even for myself as a fucking healer, this is what I do for a living. Every single day, there is something that comes up. I'm thankful for it, that it shows me something about myself. That's the learning and applying. I'm like, damn, nigga, that showed me something about me I did not know. Or I did not know I didn't like this. It gives my inner child room to explore. Your inner child needs the space to explore. So think about it like that. Like, if I start doing my work, then I stop. That means I'm the building of the playground for my inner child to go playing and have that space to grow. I'm denying my child the room to play. And then you look in your life, where in your life are you denying yourself room to expand? Where are you stopping your expansion? You have to keep expanding, keep growing. Yes, death of your ego. And when we say death of the ego, it's not in the aspects of destroying, because that ego is bringing it into the submissive state so you can work with it, so it works for you. When you think about the aspects of spirit, like working with the spirits. Yes. 1 second. One of the biggest keys that I just learned is understanding the correspondences. Remember, since there are multiple aspects, there are multiple facets to get to each one of these aspects. So one of the biggest keys is understanding the correspondence. I'll use an example. Got an example. I'm using myself, of course. Use an example. For me, I remember my first fast. And my first fast failed. My first fast failed horribly. It failed miserably. I got 5 days in. I got the 5 days on the 6th. I got 5 days in on the 5th night. I was at the store. I was getting off work. I went to the store. I saw my favorite fucking no-bake cookies. I was like, and like on impulse, I bought them. I got to the house and I was sitting there like, I'm not going to eat these cookies. I don't know what I bought them. My mind automatically zeroed into the date. My mind automatically zeroed into the date. Like, these shits are going to expire. And then my ego kicked in and was like, yo, you can remember, like, my ego gave me this thought process of just add another day. Just add another day. And I was like, well, yeah, I could just add another day. So I'm not really starting over. I'm just adding another day to my fast. I let that happen. Ate them cookies that night. Drank some water, went to bed. Went in my kitchen, grabbed another cookie. I was like, I guess I'm just going to add another day. By the time it was like 12 cookies in this, it was like 12 cookies in a little package. My ass ate 12 cookies. So technically I added 12 more days to my fast. Didn't make it past. I just said, fuck it. My mind automatically kicked it out and said, fuck it. I'll start over again next month. Here's the reason why. I didn't build the space on discipline build the space based on discipline. Me using my fast now for this example. Me using this fast now for my example. 2 weeks prior to me doing this fast, I set the tone that I'm doing my 20-day fast. Set the example. I set the parameters. Prior to this, I was already in the mindset of I want to eat between 12 and 8. So I was already intermediate fasting. I've been intermediate fasting since December of last year in my intermediate fasting fast. Had a couple of slip-ups, didn't use those things to stop me to the space like, oh my God, I didn't mean to do this, and this, put this and that. Started doing my workouts. What I was noticing and we're realizing was I was building the foundation to me to do this. Remember, one season, one day is one whole season. That means the whole season or body of work you do within one season is for one day. One day is going to matter what you're doing to that whole season. So how are you cultivating yourself for this one season, this one mindset? So I'm sitting there in my space and I'm like, yo, I'm looking at myself now in the fast that I'm in now. And I'm like, I'm literally doing this. Every single day, I'm like literally doing this. Today, I had a hankering. My 3 crows popped up. Fred, Rico, and Mitch popped up on the, I was like, shit. I went grocery shopping. Let me go grab one of these hamburger buns, break it up, give it to the crows, fed the bird to the crows. I microwaved a vegan chicken patty, ripped it up, fed it to the crows. Fed it to them. And I was like, I'm sitting out here feeding my fucking crows the fucking food that my mind wanted to eat. Served them, gave it to them. They took it to the ethers, gave that energy. It's not about this aspect when we get stuck in doing these things, such as a lot of us are in a process like I'm vegan, I'm plant-based, I never can eat meat, and all of these aspects. It's all about, but your ancestors ate meat. The ancestors that you fucking with ate meat, and they want meat. They having a taste for chicken. They want to have a taste for chicken, the chicken wings or whatever it may be. Feed them what the fuck you gonna feed them. Feed them. You don't have to partake in it, but feed them because they're gonna come to you in ways that they need to be fed. Look outside and look at what birds come around your space. Drop the food off. You just fed your ancestors. Feed them. That's what I do. Is like my grandmother come through when I get interface with my grandmother, one of 3, and Three of my aunts and my grandmother. They love lemon meringue pie. They love lemon meringue pie. That's like their favorite. That's their favorite. They love sweets. I grab me some. So whenever I'm in the store and I'm looking at the lemon meringue pies, like I know my grandmother's tapping me on my shoulder. I will eat a slice of lemon meringue pie. I'm gonna drink a gang of water afterwards. I might eat 2 slices of the lemon meringue pie, but the rest of that pie is going to be going out to the birds. I'm going to feed them through that. I'm going to feed them through that space. When you put yourself into that, but if I eat this and then I know about this because they say this is bad for your body, this is bad for this and this and this, you're still thinking based on the human narrative, the human perspective. You're still thinking based on the human perspective. So now you can't fully indulge in your energy. You cannot fully indulge in your power. You're not fully indulging in yourself as you need to indulge because you don't have an understanding of it. You're doing it because you're still thinking based on impulse. This is that impulse aspect of yourself. I did it, man. I went and got that. I went and bought this because it was an impulse. Admit it to yourself. I'm still very impulsive. I need to discipline myself. The only way to find and bring yourself into discipline with yourself is by identifying in your subconscious what gives you that what activates that impulse or that urge. The only way to identify what you need to work on is allowing yourself to be able to sit there and not suppress the urge. Don't suppress the urge. You have to learn how to use these urges to your benefit. Man, it's hard being like, I had a whole conversation with somebody hit me in my inbox and were like, what do you do about what would you do? Like, I remember listening to one of your lectures and you were talking about being celibate and using that energy and defining this energy and reusing this energy. And I looked and I was like, I don't have an agenda based on me being celibate. I'm more intimately in tune with myself. So that's my aspect. But like, I'll be having these damn thoughts and I be having these thoughts and I be looking, I would just be, my body just want it. How are you converting the urge into something that you're creating? Because that's what the energy exchange is. You're creating something. What are you creating? First thing you're going to have to identify is what are you used to creating? When you go back to all the relationships you had sex in, what was created within each one of these relationships? Even up to the kid. You either created a kid or you came together and y'all. My seeds are used for creation, to higher aspects of expanding. My intimacy, the power of my energy is going to be used to cultivate on that level. It's not just going to be because I'm bored. Man, I was having sex because I was bored. I was having sex because it was there. It was a brother. He was like, I was having sex because the shorty just was there and this, and this. I was like, you see how you went all over the place? Well, the reason why you was giving your energy up so much? Yeah, man, I just noticed that. Like, yeah, you got to discipline that shit. I lost train of thought. I'm back. Okay. This becomes that process because if you're not disciplining it, you're not bringing discipline to your urges, you're either going to use the halo effect or you're going to use simultaneously, or you're going to use the halo effect or the horn effect. The halo effect is when you only look at the positive aspects and then you make your decision. And then the halo effect is when you use the negative aspects to make a decision. This is similar to contrast theory, the contrast aspect, the contrast bias, where you're looking at something based on simply those negative aspects or the positive aspects. You're not looking at it from the whole space. So someone, like, use for the example, someone gets the same motherfucker that was sat there and was talking about, yo, man, like, fuck Trump and all that shit. Yo, what you think about Trump? I don't think about Trump. I don't think about Donald Trump. I don't think about what you think about the vaccine, man. You seen the videos, motherfuckers out there. Someone sent me the thing today. One of the chicks took the vaccine and she fainted. She got all weak. I don't think about it. But yo, man, they're gonna be trying to push that on us. I don't think about those things. That does not mean that I'm not aware of what's happening. It's just not something that's is not in the aspect of my space. I'm in a space to where I've built my space to a space to where it's like, nigga, I don't need to do the things that I'm not subjecting myself to things that I have those old aspects of the old paradigm for me to have to move inside of that space. What if they say you gotta leave the country? And you talking about, like, what if they say you gotta leave the country? Okay, passport. I know places that I'm gonna go. I'm not looking. We have to stop looking in this aspect of, oh my God, this is going to be something that's going to stop us. Nothing is going to stop me. The only way something can stop you is if it's already subseeded into your subconscious to be an aspect to stop you. The only way a relationship is going to go bad is if in your mindset you're used to having bad relationships. So now you have all the data based on every bad relationship. Every nigga I was with ever cheated on me. Every chick I was with always did me dirty. Why? Why did they do you dirty? Man, because I love too hard. The fuck you mean you love too hard? How do you love too hard? If love is the ultimate aspect of that energy, how do you love too hard? Damn, you loving undisciplined. It's gonna break down to your discipline of yourself. Have fun with your discipline. Learning aspects of yourself. Learning yourself and disciplining yourself. These are hand in hand. These go together. Learning where you're emotionally stunted at. Yeah, man. Like, I remember I used to overreact to things. Every time it wouldn't go my way, I would act like this. These are the things that you're going to be learning about yourself. Why do I react? Because they're stunting. You have emotional stunts. You're stunted somewhere. Where did you first not get your way? Where in your life did you feel that you did not? Where did it stem from and you not getting your way? What have you been using to get your way? Man, I got the car, I got the house, I got the crib, I got all this stuff. Yo, man, you're stuck in ownership. So now that you think that you own all of these aspects of this, you own all of these aspects that you brought into your life. Now you're sitting in that space like, I guess anybody that come in my space, yo, they got to do this causes the unhealthy boundaries. Your boundaries are based on selfishness. That means you're not going to give unless you get something back. I give freely. Because that's going to be the automatic price I pay to, if I'm giving in this, the thing that's going to stop me to redirect how I act in that space is based on my observing the space. I'm just a good person and I like to give to people and people keep doing me dirty because I'm a good person. I guess it's because you're not disciplined in your approach of what you're giving. You're influenced, or your intention is fed by that attention. Because if you truly were in a space where you're sitting there with yourself like, I'm going to stop giving because all I get is this. You're like, what am I not giving myself? What does this giving really mean for me? I'm going to ask myself a true fucking hard ass fucking question. Why do I feel the need to keep giving to people? Why do I feel this impulse to keep giving? What personality am I trying to maintain? Remember, as long as you're sitting there trying to maintain the external and not do the internal work, you're going to become weaker because you're depending on other light to keep you into your space and your balance. Yo, I need motherfuckers to love me. Motherfuckers love me because of what I give them. And if I don't give them anything, then they don't love me. My love is not based on that. Everything that I do is not based on that position of my thought process. That's not where I base myself at. I found myself doing this. When I found myself doing this, and when I became aware of that, I started realizing I was staying in position for too long, even long after they became stagnant. Now I needed to charge that space because I didn't know what I know now. I didn't go through my healing process. I was stuck in a bias. Like, if I'm giving everybody all this shit, they're going to like me. But if I don't give them this, then they ain't going to like me. And this went down to the physical sense. This get down to the aspects of relationships that I was in at those points in time where it was like, think about it like this, like, I remember always being in spaces and telling people, they were like, yo, when's the last time? I was like, I didn't win 4, I didn't win 5, I didn't win. My longest time going without a sacred energy, a sexual, physical energy exchange was like 6 years. 6 years, good. I got so much stuff done in them 6 years. And I got that same amount of shit done when I was in a certain position. It didn't change. People will always ask me like, yo, like, how do you do it? Like, yo, I need to at least get some every fucking day or every other week. I can't go longer than 4 months. And these was chicks that was telling me I can't go longer than 4 months. I was like, you got that's on you. Why? Why do you feel that you? Because I got needs. Oh, you got needs. Don't you have needs? At this point in time, I was like, not as many that can be subjugated to one singular set point. And it changed my overall mentality because I was in a space looking at individuals, becoming the observer, like, damn, motherfuckers really out here thinking like that. And then I started noticing that the further that I stepped away into myself, when I'm having these conversations and I'm seeing them and how they're acting, their natural movements, I'm seeing how they're unconsciously moving in a certain manner. So when I got into relationships later on in those spaces, I'm looking at it from a fucking balanced state. And I'm noticing the people that I'm with, they're thinking like them. I'm a woman. I know what women think. I'm a man, so I know what men think. No. I don't know what women think. I don't know what men think. I know what I think. I know what I know. I can take in an account of what other individuals think. I can take into account what other people think and how they move. But that's not going to be my process of my thought process and how I'm going to, because then I'll be submitting myself to basically the unconscious bias, that cognitive bias. So now I'll be looking at things based on that. Like, so let's go to these aspects of me being in the space that I'm in, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, me being divinely balanced. There's just certain things that don't, as I said earlier, there's just certain things for me that don't spike an impulse in me. I can sit here and, for example, Rihanna got that Fenty joint on Prime Video. I can look at that whole thing and be like, oh shit. Yo, that was very well put together. 6 other, like, I can be sitting here, 6 other niggas can be sitting, have a whole party of motherfuckers in here, and they girls gonna be looking at them like, you looking at her because of this, this, and this. And I'm looking like, yo, that was a real good fucking show. And I can break down the whole fucking show. This is you coming into your space. What you're able to break down, how you're able to synthesize this information, how you're able to synthesize and apply that information. It's not based on impulse, it's based on you indulging in your knowing. All I want to do is know shit. All I want to do is keep grabbing information. So I'm indulging in the information. I'm a God that's indulging. So I'm creating, as a God, I'm creating these spaces to indulge in. As an alchemist, as the occultist, I'm learning through the contradictions so I can now apply these new cadences. So when I'm in my alchemist bag, now I'm creating based on these new cadences. So now I'm creating these new cadences based on the alchemy standpoint. Now I'm sitting here building my aspects of how I build in that chaos. All of these aspects that are becoming your breakdown and you coming into your space for your mentality, how you move forward. All of these aspects. But you got to break down and redefine for yourself in that process. You got it when you're going through that healing process. You went through this is some real shit. You went through every moment in your past, every trauma, repetition, and symbol. Trauma, the repetition of the symbols created a sentence. They created a cipher. They created a body or conduit that holds energy. As you define the trauma, as you define that, redefine this, understand that symbol, understand that trauma, understand how the repetition and how that shit came together and how it repeats itself. As you define this, you break that energy out of that space. This is the aspect. This is a healing This is the healing process in allowing your inner child to play. I remember it used to be for me doing the work, going through the process, doing my works, doing what I needed to do. It's such, now when I'm in the process, it's such a releasing process. It feels good as fuck to release. It feels good as fuck to fucking speak because I'm speaking in my truth. I'm not worried about somebody's feelings being hurt. They feel that mean if somebody's feelings get hurt by what I said, that means their feelings may have needed to get hurt. They needed to be triggered. But I'm not doing it based on a validation of, let me see how many people's feelings I can hurt today. Let me see how many people I can belittle today. No. I'm exploring just like they're exploring. I'm learning just like they're learning. I'm learning shit just like they're learning shit. There's no agenda. There's no agenda to anything that I do. I just do things. I accept what happens when I do these things. I live a life of no regret, no worry, no stress. Period. The things that come up since I'm living, when you live in this aspect of openness, you sitting there in that space. Give you an example. Yesterday, I was on the phone for 2 hours and 32 minutes waiting for a customer representative from PayPal because I'm no longer rocking with PayPal because PayPal locked my account because this was in the beginning of my product selling products. I've switched off and went to another thing. I was sitting there in that space and I felt myself getting angry. I felt myself getting upset, angry. I felt myself getting irritated. I'm sitting in that space and I'm sitting there like, I'm sitting on the phone with them and I'm like, finally come through. I went and laid down. My phone's on speakerphone. I went and laid down. Got nudged by the spirit, like, nigga, go back down the hallway and do what you need to do. I walk down the hallway. I'm sitting here on the same fucking couch. I'm sitting here in this little corner, in my little corner space in my couch, having a conversation with them. They were like, oh, there's still a lock on your account. Yes, that's what I was like, yes, that's what I pointed out to the last representative I talked to last week. They were like, oh, well, they said that it takes 4 days. Now I said, they told me that it's going to take 48 hours for it to be reset. I was like, so this week told me, it was like, I'm going to put in the request for them to remove this. Look out for an email within the 24-hour mark. Look out for an email so you can add your bank account so you can remove your funds. I was like, okay. I was like, okay. I could feel myself upset, like, okay. I was like, okay. I was like, so last week, let me get this straight. Last week, when I was told that you're saying there's no record of that, Ashley, because last week it was Samantha, this week it was Ashley. I was like, Ashley, there's no record of that? I was like, no. I was like, can you send me an email correspondence to this conversation saying what you just did after we get off of this phone call? Or before we even get off, she was like, I can send it to you before we even get off the phone call. She sent me the email correspondence saying what she did. She sent the request saying that how long it was going to take. And she, line for line, put it in there. I looked at that. I was like, I felt good. I was like, I don't feel I'm like, good. I sat there for a little bit, irritated as hell. But like, I was more aware. I was like, what did I do differently in this situation? This is one of those keys for us in that healing process. I learned a lot about myself in that space. I could have easily went the fuck off. There has been a couple of moments in this year that I could have went the fuck off. I could have went off, lost my mind, went crazy. But it's like, did I die? What did I learn? There was an aspect of there was another aspect that happened earlier in the year where there was this one of the what are them fucking groups? The gifting groups with the fire and the water aspect. Sent $200 through. While I'm sitting there waiting for my day to come in, for my $200 to come to me, every week it was a different set of excuses on every other phone call. I'm sitting here the entire time unfazed. I'm noticing that the longer that I'm really unfazed by this, I still have clients. I still doing consultations. I'm still selling services. I'm still making my moves. I'm still doing readings. I'm still doing all of my shit. What I noticed that what was supposed to come back to me on this space, that was a negative. I was getting it over on this end in a positive. So I'm sitting in my space now and it's like, yo, like, I learned not to do that. I learned not to do it. This is the aspect of healing, looking at what's triggering you. If it triggers you, dive into it. If it's triggering you, please dive into it. If you need that assistance in diving into it, please hit me. Please hit me up. It's what I do. That's my purpose. Let's work on it. Let's get you to the best aspects of you. Key aspect. Like, I could easily be sitting there like, yeah, they niggas out here doing niggas dirty and shit. Nigga, I learned. In me being humble and not allowing my ego to come out, I learned from that. I learned from it. This becomes that key aspect for yourself. Learning the process. Learning what you need to learn. Stop writing shit off. Stop this process. What a lot of people do, y'all want to write off processes because it didn't go your way. That relationship ain't going. You're not getting what you need from that relationship in the way that you think that you need to get it. So now you're sitting in that space and you're like, fuck it, it's over. The job ain't giving you what the fuck you need. You feel that you need and you deserve. Fuck it, it's over. You're so quick to cut shit off instead of learning from it. Why? Because you were used to it based on a repressed emotion. You're used to repressing shit. You're used to cutting shit off. You're used to cutting shit down. You're used to stopping shit before it can actually do the work that it needs to do, before it starts actually imputing. That's that cognitive bias coming in, because you have this big ass pile of shit over here that you're used to getting, that you're used to going through. And on this space, you ain't built nothing in this space. So this shit empty. You didn't learn anything. You're acquiring, but the only way that you learn is when you apply it. This brings the balance. We naturally look for balance. That's why if you have bad situations, that's why if you have good situations, your mindset naturally is like waiting for the other shoe to fall off. This relationship is about to be bad. The job about to be bad. It's about to be this, and this, because your humanity is naturally looking for that balance. So even look at your space right now based on what you're disciplining yourself. What's influencing you? Are you focusing on waiting for the more negative shit to happen? So you have a reason, building from lack. A lot of us built from lack. A lot of us built from struggle. A lot of us are building from lack. We're building from struggle. We're building from this space of lack and struggle. That's not building based on discipline. Building from the nothing, that's building from pure fucking discipline. It takes discipline to use the full spectrum of your imagination. It takes a full aspect of discipline. It takes discipline for me to be able to use my imagination the way that I use my imagination. To be able to pull in the information that I pull in and use. It takes a lot of that aspect for yourself. But it takes a lot of fucking discipline. It takes a lot more discipline to do what you want than do what you can. With the 21st coming up and the shift coming up, what are you doing to prepare yourself? Before and after. A lot of people using the 21st, just like the conjunction, the great conjunction. People using energy like, yeah, during that time, I'm going to do this, this, and this. They're using it just like full moon and new moon rituals. Not knowing that the energy coming from what's happening on the 21st, that's just going to linger for a good long time. It's going to linger. It's about to linger. It's going to flow for a good amount of time. What are you doing while you're working in that space? It's not going to be just one day. Stop treating it like, stop treating it like a fucking holiday like Christmas or Valentine's Day. This one time of the year, I want to get anything that I want, but during the other times of the year, I don't care. But during this time of the year, I want to get what the fuck I want. Stop doing that. Stop putting yourself in that space. Stop giving yourself what you deserve. What you deserve is going to come outside of the spectrum of what you need and what you want. What you deserve is going to come outside of the spectrum of what you need and what you want. I feel at this point in time for myself that everything that I needed to do, I've done to get to this point of integration for everything to come through. I've already seen everything come down, and I've already disciplined myself in those manners. That's going to be your key. In order to see it, in order to feel it, when your manifestation is you're disciplining yourself as you synthesize it. We talked about last week, you synthesize this space for it to fit within this program. That's going to be your key. Everything from your dreams. You seeing shit, like I know motherfuckers right now, you're seeing shit in your dreams right now that look out of place, some shit. The shit that is, when you're going into your dream spaces right now, look for the shit that's unfamiliar to that space. When you're going into your dreams at this moment in time, look for the things that are unfamiliar to that space. If you're going into your dreams and you go into familiar childhood places, look for the shit that's unfamiliar, because those are the keys to unlocking the dream. Not the shit that you know, the shit that looks unfamiliar. That's the stuff. Those are the things that you need to focus on in your new dream, in your dreams at this point in time. You should have been doing it But it's more important. It's most important to do that shit now. Like I go in my dreams, and one of the places I go to in my when I'm in a dream is to my aunt's house in Florida. Go to my aunt's house in Florida. She has this crawl. She has a upstairs in her room. There's a crawl space that I remember we used to like play hide and seek in. The last time I went to my aunt's house the last time I had a dream about my aunt's house in Florida, the crawl space wasn't there. It wasn't in the same space. I walked out the back door. I walked out the back door into the backyard. She got like the fruit trees in the backyard. Went into the backyard, and there was a doghouse sitting in the backyard. My aunt don't like dogs. My aunt is allergic to dogs. I'm like, what the fuck is the doghouse doing? Walked to the doghouse. Something told me to look in the doghouse. Fell down a fucking rabbit hole in the doghouse. I was like, oh shit. Woke up, meditated on it, thought about it, used it. I was recalling what I saw. I was like, damn, that's the new space. The next time I went to go look for the doghouse, found the doghouse, found out the reason behind the doghouse, and I applied it to my new aspect of myself. This is you building your new space. That new body the new energy, what are you building? What are you putting it into? It's time to stop thinking about economic plans. Stop thinking about we taking the world back over. Why would you want to take over the prison? Why would you want to take the prison back? I'm not taking over this prison. I'm not trying to do anything to sustain anything down here based on the physical aspect. Everything that I'm doing is based on me evolving. I don't want to be in the same space that I was in. The space that I'm in right now, I don't want to be I do not desire to be in this space again next year. Not saying that I'm not open to it, because that means I need to learn something there. But I'm not looking as this space to be the space that I'm in next year. Just like last month, I wasn't looking for everything that happened last month. If it comes back up, if it recycles back, that means it's time for me to learn from it. Until then, I'm not dwelling in it. I'm not dwelling on the aspects of the past. Changing my life, going into my aspects of evolution. I'm not waiting for others to evolve with me. I'm not waiting for other motherfuckers to evolve with me. I'm not waiting for them to catch on. I'm not waiting for those aspects. Because remember, what has your attention powers your intention. So if your intention is to grow and evolve, but my attention is on other people evolving or waiting on these other people evolving, I become stagnant in my growth. I don't want to be stagnant. I don't want to stay in that position. I want to grow. I want to evolve. Anything that's supposed to be there is going to be there. Allow it to flow. Stop trying to fight the current and let that shit flow in your life. Allow it to flow. Allow yourself this time to allow that shit to flow. Allow yourself the time for this shit to allow you to go forward. The people that have fell off out of your life right now at this point in time, they needed to. Stop trying to go back to them. Stop trying to have conversations with them. Stop trying to deal with them. Stop playing lottery with your life. Let it go. It no longer serves a purpose. That eviction, that you might be getting evicted out your crib, let it happen. It's supposed to happen. That relationship ending, let it happen. That relationship that's ending in turmoil, let it happen. That month, let that shit happen. At this point in time, let it happen. Step away, take what you learned, and move forward. That's the message for me. That's what I've been doing. Stop trying to hold on to things. Because all you're going to notice is that you keep repeating the same cycle to stay in that space. Because you're not, if you haven't learned from that yet, let it go. Bye. I learned that earlier in this year. Let that shit go. Stop trying to make it exist. My job got worse and worse and worse. All the way up until COVID-19. All the way up to the COVID shit happened in March and shit, when that shit really spiked off. Instead of me sitting there trying to make that shit work, it wasn't fitting anymore to everything that I know, everything that I know now, and that flows through me freely now. It didn't match. So now I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't have a missing, I don't miss it. I don't think about it. It just isn't there. It's there, it just doesn't exist to me. I'm gonna tell you another crazy thing about the aspect of the existence. I don't even go on that side of town where my job's at anymore. I know it's there, but I don't even go to that side of town anymore. There's no residual energy in me to go in that space. And this goes into the space of when you start shifting your frequency and you change your wavelength, when you truly change your frequency, when you truly change it, all of the shit that used to exist will no longer cease to exist. Like, I can go outside right now and stand right here at the bottom of the stairs and look across the street. There can be somebody that I know standing across the fucking street that I used to rock with hard. They can't see me anymore. We're in the same grind. We can be on the same thought. We can be in the same pattern of process, but we're not on the same wavelength. Because the shit's changed. There's people that I used to have conversations with all the time. Now, if you ask me to remember a conversation with them, I can't remember it. It don't exist anymore. Why? Because the aspects of my internal work no longer exist with that. It doesn't exist to me anymore. My mother lives up the street from me. The last time I spoke to her was 2 weeks ago. She sent me a text saying, I ain't heard from you in 2 months. I sent her back a text. I ain't heard from you in 2 months either. No reply. It doesn't exist anymore. This is what's happening. The more that you are going into your spiritual self, the world of the invisible is becoming more visible. I'm living in the spiritual aspect. I'm in this space. This is me. I am self. I am law. This is my space. What I do look crazy to other motherfuckers. Let them think you crazy. Let them think whatever they need to think. Let them do what they fucking need to do. Let them feel what they need to feel. That's on them. You keep going forward. You keep fucking growing. You keep doing you keep going to where you're being led to. Because that's your ultimate goal. It's lit. It's fun. It's fire. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing when you let go. The amount of energy that I feel right now is crazy. I'm hype all the fucking time. I'm not tired anymore. I'm not feeding on the things I used to feed on. I'm not feeding into the things I used to feed into. That whole shit does change. Because my influence is from me. My influence is what I create. This is your growing process. 1 second. I'm telling you, Q, that's what I got. Hot as fuck. Sorry. Let's write these keys. Oh, shit. I want to talk about death. You feel me? Like, just my whole, as you're changing, as you're going through this shift, and you're becoming more aware of these biases, and you're asking your whys and your why nots, and how you need to grow and what you need to look into. This is based on the expansion. You expanding past the things that you got used to, even in the aspects of what you originally learned, is going to become redundant. There's a lot of aspects for me now. For me now, I'm traveling in the world of Buddhist teachings and Buddhist teachings. Staying in India, I'm in India and I'm in China right now. I'm outside of the aspect because as you start expanding, you're going beyond Africa, beyond Egypt. They gave you this thought process like, yeah, you came from Egypt, go back home. Your natural process is what? Be like, nigga, you don't send us back home? Y'all stole us and this, and this. That shit don't even faze me anymore. It doesn't work anymore. The fear narrative doesn't work anymore. When I hear people talking about the aspects of using fear mongering to keep people locked into that space, that's where their mind frames at. This is one of the biggest aspects when you start understanding the subconscious. The most militant nigga, when you really start thinking about it, and you're applying and creating your heaven, you're creating your space for yourself for when you transition, when you go through, when you leave, I'm gone. What are you building up there? What I'm building in my higher self, in my higher realms of myself, to when I leave to my space to go back to my building, is reflective of what's around me. That's down to the people. That's down to everything in my life is based on that frequency. I don't have to fight it. They just come. This the aspect of you loving the true aspect of you in that love with yourself. Like, I'm married to myself. I have no need or want for anything external. So I can go with the flow without having an abruptness. That abruptness, like, oh shit, nigga, nah. I ain't gotta worry about that. If it comes into my space, it comes into my space. I'm ready to learn. Yeah. I want you to be the fucking best. Breaking the old pattern of the cognitive that cognitive bias way of thinking, the cognitive biases of thinking. Understanding your flaws, researching your flaws. That's what I wrote down. Do. Go down. There it is. Allowing yourself to challenge these things or use them as challenges for you to grow. Like right now, motherfuckers talking about Christmas. I don't celebrate Christmas, a white man pagan holiday. Nigga, how are you eating from it? That should be the only question. How the fuck you eating from it? How am I eating from Christmas? On the 21st, I already have a set of candles that I'm gonna light up. My ritual, I'm energy grabbing because I understand the process. So while everybody's sitting there, so when the 25th comes and I'm like, nigga, I want some macaroni and cheese. I'm gonna do my thing with my meal. I'm gonna eat, and the energy that I'm creating within my space is gonna be based on that. I'm celebrating myself, the birth, the rising of myself, my new energy of myself, while using those candles or using that ritual to pull that energy towards me or to feed from this energy. It is going to be filtered through my intention. That's your key. That's your goal. Your goal down here is to eat, indulge, eat from this shit, learn from this shit, train from this shit, and not come back to this shit. Use it all. Use it all. Make it your purpose. I want you to be the fucking best. Yeah, I want you to be the fucking best. I want you to dive in and be your fucking best. I want you to go into them deeply rooted aspects of yourself and really start learning yourself. Turn that old shit off. I want you to be the fucking best. Flames, that's a dancer. I'm thinking. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. Shift the mindset. Shift the way you think. Embrace what's coming to you. Go with this flow. There's a reason that it's happening. Allow the process and trust it. If you feel like you need to leave, you feel like it's time to move, move. You feel like it's time to end a relationship, end it. Because if you don't, if the first thought is like, nigga, this is not doing it for me no more, and you sitting in that space, it's naturally going to happen anyway. I'm going to be real with you. It's naturally going to happen anyway. So why don't you just start the process? Yeah. Yeah. Readings, setting up a consultation. Got any questions? Information is in the description. Stop moving. That's what it was. Stop moving with an agenda. Move with your purpose and not with an agenda. Your agenda is based on that need and want, and your purpose is based on your desire and your value, your worth, that knowledge that you're applying. Your agenda will always be based upon needs and wants. But yeah, appreciate y'all coming through, rocking with it. Share the information. Share. Let the information do what it's supposed to do. Make it and let it, allow it to invoke thought. I love you. We love us. Ashe.